The new Hunter x Hunter chapter, or Hunter x Hunter for the algorithm, has revealed the whereabouts of Hisoka. We explain his plan and what he will do next. His confrontation with the spiders is inevitable, and consequently the next spider will soon die. We show you who. We also show you how this old lady's information could be a clue as to how Gon and Killua could possibly join the Black Whale on the journey to the Dark Continent. If you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. Please enjoy this video. Let's go! The new Hunter x Hunter chapter 392 starts seconds after the end of the last chapter, with a group of civilians on tier 3, controlled by the highly Mafia, complaining about the gunfire from the last chapter. Henrik, the underboss of the Shiyu family, had entered the highly territory with Lynch and Zakuro to search for Hisoka, and was therefore attacked with gunfire by the Highly. This is the current situation we are in. For some reason, some civilians have mentioned the Yakuza, which is the biggest mafia in the real Japan, but has yet to be mentioned in the Hunter x Hunter universe. Perhaps this is a small hint that there's actually a fourth mafia family on the ship that is just as powerful as the three biggest families from Kaken. Just very briefly for context, some people believe that the three mafias that control the first three tiers are the three most powerful mafias in the world, but that is not correct. The reason these three mafias control the majority of the tiers is because the Kaken country itself is the leader of this expedition. So they have control of the ship, which is also only the first of many other ships that will follow the journey to the Dark Continent in the near future. And since this is the first ship, the Kaken family is so heavily involved. But the entire mafia community in Hunter x Hunter is much bigger, as there are several mafias spread all over the world. There's even a hierarchy with a council of leaders of the most powerful mafia families. This council of leaders is called the 10 Dons, and each of them has their own territory in 10 regions on 6 continents. Given the powerful position of the Yakuza Mafia in our real world, it is not unlikely that the Yakuza in Hunter x Hunter is a strong mafia group and probably belongs to the 10 Dons. Since they were specifically mentioned, it is not unlikely that they are also involved in the ship itself. At the very least, we cannot ignore this possibility. We know that tier 5, 4 and 3 are controlled by the Kaken Mafia, while tier 1 is controlled by the royal families. So that leaves tier 2, which could be controlled by the Yakuza, although there's actually little to control there if we are being completely honest. In a way, it seems to be an extension of tier 1, which includes a theater for example, but who knows. In any case, this is just speculation for now. Let's continue with the chapter. We see Henrik with a Highly member he defeated in the last chapter. This Highly member suddenly began emitting a Nen aura, which is probably invisible to the normal eye, and possibly hard to see even for a skilled Nen user, depending on the effect of this particular Nen ability, which is explained in a moment. We see 3 soldiers approaching them and asking them to explain what happened, since the shots were fired in their direction and they were the only ones standing in that corridor. The Highly member then behaves very strangely, quite different from what he did a chapter ago. The explanation for this lies in the aura, which as mentioned will be explained in a moment. Since all Highly members are registered as civilians and not as Mafia members, the Highly member is free to leave. However, the underboss of the Shiyu family will not get away so easily, especially since everyone knows him, and so the soldiers cannot always cover for him. If he continues to draw attention to himself, especially by picking fights with quote-unquote civilians, then there will definitely be trouble for him. And that is exactly what we explained in the last chapter. For this reason, the members of the Highly family registered as civilians. That is a strategic master plan. Any actions against them that comes from either of the other 2 mafia families will be seen as an attack by the mafia on innocent civilians. Here once again it has been shown that this is one of their strongest defenses. The power of this lie is shown beyond tier 3, as in tier 4 even the store owner has heard that Shiyu is attacking civilians. Anyway, back to Henrik. One of the soldiers offers to help him with information about the location of the Highly boss. Although this is not their mission, since their main target is Hisoka, we know that Henrik has a personal and strong grudge against the Highly boss. Despite the mission to find Hisoka, he sets his own goal and tries to find the Highly family's hideout, where he suspects the leader Marina. He's after her head and doesn't think of letting the Phantom Troupe do the job. He wants to be the one to defeat her. and so he is ready to offer 50 million Jenny for this information. Jenny is the currency used in Hunter x Hunter. 1 Jenny is about 1 yen, so we could say it's 50 million yen, or about $340,000. For one piece of information. That's an insane amount of money and shows how committed Henrik is to this goal. The soldier is even willing to take Henrik himself to the front door of the Highly boss. And so Henrik sets out to get the money. Whether it all really works out is not clear from the chapter. It could be that some of the Highly members have the ability to hear the conversation and then murder the soldier before he can show Henrik the secret hideout. The likelihood of this exists because Henrik has turned the cat into a camera that he can control to find the hideout of the Highly. So unless this cat was a completely useless plot device, the soldier will either be assassinated or stopped in any other way, unless the camera will be used for something else. And then we see the weird Highly member again, who fought Henrik and acted so strangely early in this chapter. And now we can see the source of the Nen aura quite clearly. It is a deceased Shiyu member with a very special and useful ability, the Zombie Girl. Whenever a Shiyu member is involved in a murder, she seems to dispose of the body inconspicuously by taking control of the corpse, making it appear to be alive and well. This explains the strange behavior. The Highly member did not survive, he is dead. Once the corpse is disposed of, the ability disappears. Very useful. The scene then switches back to Lynch and Zakuro, who are still searching for Hisoka in a wide radius. With the help of Zakuro's blood drops scattered all over the tier. Each time they find someone who matches Hisoka's physical characteristics, they use Lynch's ability to ask about Hisoka and literally beat the truth out of them. They do this until they come across a person who looks pretty much like Hisoka, just without the color on his face and the styled hair. I think everyone immediately thought it must be Hisoka, and our suspicions were confirmed in no time. Without knowing the true identity of this person, Lynch, arrogant as she is, goes up to him and tries to beat the truth out of him with her ability. But before she can activate her Nen, she falls unconscious on the ground. What happened at that moment was something that even the readers did not see. Before she could strike properly, that person had already seen the blow coming and countered it, knocking her unconscious. And then we have the confirmation we've all been waiting for. This person is definitely Hisoka, only he uses one of the card symbols in his speech bubble. The diamond symbol is often used when Hisoka is calmly excited, but also determined, decisive, judgmental, and willing to take risks. And it makes sense because now he's definitely let his guard down, which he would have done anyway if the blow had hit him. But if you look at how this scene was portrayed, Hisoka didn't try to dodge them, since he saw them coming from a distance, and sort of waited for them to approach him. He could just disappear, he's like a magician. So by not dodging them, even though he probably noticed what they were doing and thus knew their ability, he was actively making his move and thus wanted to be found. He's done hiding, now it's his turn to play the game. So the diamond symbol perfectly shows his determination to finally get involved in the big game of the Black Whale. The hunted now becomes the hunter. Instead of avoiding the Shiyu family, he turns his attention to Zakuro and asks him what they want from him, as if they could have just asked without putting on such a show. Zakuro is literally shocked by the extremely strong but calm aura that Hisoka radiates. At this point, I would like to remind you that Hisoka is by far one of the strongest people in all of Hunter x Hunter. Many people underestimate Hisoka's ability. While it's true that Hisoka lost to Chrollo, who is considered one of the strongest, if we're being completely honest, the environmental condition of their fight were simply advantageous to Chrollo, with all the people in the little space. I would even go so far as to say that Hisoka could win against Chrollo under certain circumstances, and I'm sure Hisoka will prove it very soon, mark my words. Zakuro then admits that while they don't know the details about the purpose of their mission, what he can say is that their boss is looking for him, and if Hisoka wants, he can follow him and he will bring him right to the boss. Hisoka doesn't look like he hates the idea, in fact he seems to like it. He has probably already placed his bungee gum on Sakura and Lynch, and is already planning how to use both of them. He probably already understood that the Phantom Troupe is the reason why the Mafia family is looking for him. Hisoka never had anything to do with the Mafia, so that they will have have a great interest in him, apart of the fact that he himself was a spider, and the spiders have long since met an enemy of the Mafia, and Hisoka knows that. Considering how intelligent and calculating Hisoka really is, he probably understands that the Mafia only wants to capture him because the spiders are looking for him, so the Mafia can try to use him to control the spiders. In this regard, the best thing Hisoka can do is to use the Mafia to get to the spiders more easily, so he will turn the cards around by playing the game that the spiders themselves initiated. And it's not too unlikely that Hisoka will continue his killing spree very soon, with Finks, Nobunaga, and Faden most likely to die next, as they are the ones working with the Shiyu and Cha-R family to find him. These three spiders are currently in the surveillance office of the Shiyu or Cha-R family, so depending on where exactly they are and where exactly Sakura wants to take Hisoka, it is likely that their paths will cross. We know that the spiders were promised that they could search everything in Tier 4, and Tier 4 is controlled by the Shiyu family, to which Sakura belongs, so things get very interesting with each new chapter. Yami will now continue with his Hunter x Hunter chapter review. Have fun!
Change the location to a Cha-R member, either in Tier 5 where the Cha are in control, or in Tier 4 where the Ziyu are in control but are currently in alliance with the Cha-R and the Phantom Troupe, so it's not a problem. The Cha-R member shown is Sudonke. A brief summary of his involvement in this arc, especially in the Mafia storyline. In the Cha-R family, he is classified as a supervisor, so he is one of the people in charge, especially of the lower ranking workers, so they don't have to annoy the higher ranking family members with stupid questions. There is nothing to say about him except that he's a big fan of the Phantom Troupe, which is made clear once again in this chapter. When Ken took the three spiders to the hiding place, he informed the family that Finks, Nobunaga, and Phaeton were joining the surveillance rotation to look for Hisoka. While doing so, he ordered Sudonke to show them around. That is literally all that is known about him so far. Right now, he's looking for a special autograph paper, so he won't offend the Phantom Troupe with regular paper when he asks them to sign his paper. Although his desire to buy this paper is irrelevant in itself, the information we got from this little exchange between him and the old woman is very important to understand the connection between the Black Whale and the old world, and how they are still in contact, and most importantly, how long this connection will continue until any physical communication is no longer possible. This is especially important to have an approximate understanding of how long this arc might last. This is especially important for a possible explanation of how or by when Gon and Killua might join the Black Whale, for example, so that they become a part of the Dark Continent arc. This is probably the final arc of Hunter x Hunter, so logically the main character must be a part of this arc. The old lady explains that the stores in Tier 1 are so exclusive that even if they don't have an item in stock, they will have that item delivered to the ship. But this service is only available to the upper class. In addition, the desired item must be able to be delivered by air. And quite importantly, for the plot of Hunter x Hunter, no orders will be accepted after the 14th day of the voyage, while we are currently only on the evening of the 8th day. So there are still 6, respectively 5 full days until, at least with this option, nobody can board with air freight anymore. By the way, for those who no longer know how long this trip will last, the official announcement mentioned 2 months. Given the pace of the story arc, it should be pretty clear that something will happen and will either get to the Dark Continent much faster than expected, or the Succession War arc ends much earlier and the rest of the trip will be handled as a small time skip. So I think the important time period to consider is the first 14 days until no more contact with the old world can take place. So considering the 14 days, we are about 60% through the arc. Of course, there are also a few more days until the delivery arrives, so the story arc could take a few more days, but that's just our speculation. We don't think this arc will run for 2 months, that is just too long. Then we see how Ken, the underboss of the Cha-R family, orders his people to continue the search for Hisoka. Here, we are clearly shown that this collaboration has no true friends. The bottom line is that the Phantom Troupe is the enemy of the Cha-R family and the Ziyu family. We must always keep in mind that the moment they find Hisoka, they will use him to control the Phantom Troupe, which is why they don't want the spiders to be the ones to find him first. That is the only reason they let them search on Tier 4, even though they already know Hisoka isn't there. Ken is worried that the Phantom Troupe might split up, which would make it harder to control them, and even harder to make it appear that they are not under 24/7 surveillance. But so far, they're staying in the office, so all good. But even that worries Ken, because the hitman has put his activation sign on the office. He suspects that the spiders wait for him instead of wasting time looking for him. He thinks that they realize that they have to take care of the assassin first so that they can fulfill their part of the agreement before they have to focus on Hisoka together. This makes them the ones in control of the game at the moment. He even considers betraying the spiders by allowing the Haley family to attack the Phantom Troupe. So as mentioned before, there is no real cooperation taking place, but of course the same thoughts are going through the spiders' mind. They are prepared for whatever is coming and are aware that the Mafia is trying to use them. The spiders do the same. Ken then confirms what the spiders themselves have already mentioned. After killing Hisoka, they will proceed with the second objective, which is not quite clear yet. We know that they are after some valuable items that are in tier 1. It would be interesting that they retrieve the eyes of the Kurta clan that they sold in the past. We know that Chrollo has a strong grudge against Kurapika for what he did to him. The easiest way to lure Kurapika is to have the eyes of the Kurta clan and just wait for Kurapika. And as we know, all the remaining eyes are in the possession of Suritnik, who of course would not make this journey without these eyes. This would create a whole new problem since Kurapika himself is after these eyes and is also aware that they are on the ship. So it's not unlikely that both Kurapika and the Phantom Troupe are on the ship for the same reason. Back to the chapter, Ken once again starts talking a lot about the intuition of the Mafias. To quickly summarize the general intent of the Mafia without specifying which of the two, Ziyu or Cha are, in relation to Hisoka and the whole search. Both Mafias have the Phantom Troupe as their enemy. They themselves are looking for Hisoka to use against the spiders and the Haley family. But they are still open to the possibility that the Phantom Troupe might win against Hisoka before they manage to find them. In that case, they will use them to defeat the Haley family, only to betray them in the end, and finally destroy them. In the end, only the Cha and the Ziyu families should remain alive, and even then they will try to destroy each other for good. That is Ken's basic message. The last change of location for the chapter. The surveillance group with the spiders is in the office. Nobunga suggests that they split up and actively search for Hisoka instead of waiting for the hitman to appear. Until suddenly, Luini the hitman actually shows up. Luini, by the way, is another fanboy of the Phantom Troupe, but it seems that he's quite disappointed by the way they have been behaving, and that contrary to the rumors about them, they are too nice. And so the chapter ends with the beginning of the fight between the hitman and the spiders. That's it for today, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to smash the like button, and if you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe with the notification bell turned on. See you guys in the next video. Yami out.